Hi, my name is Sarah and I'm a type 1 diabetic. Today we are going to meet type 1 and type 2 diabetics of all shapes and sizes. Their stories make Type Now. Hi Andrew, how are you today?
I'm good, Sarah. How are you doing today?
Great. I've heard that you're a type 1 diabetic. Would you mind elaborating a little bit and tell me your background?
I would. So I have a type 1 diabetes, and I've been a type 1 diabetic for about 5.5 years.
Okay.
And so I was 19. I was a freshman at Gustavus Adolphus College in St. Peter, Minnesota. And, I was moving in freshman year as any other kid coming from, a city to a small town to go to college. I got sick though. I started getting sick in of December of that year, and I can remember the nights I was at Midnight Express before finals, and I came back and I just had this really intense thirst in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I drank a bottle of water and I was like, all right, well, let's go to bed now. Went to bed and woke up and started feeling fine. And as the days and the weeks progressed, it got gradually worse and worse. I was doing anything to keep my mouth wet, and running to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a night, and then I went home for winter break, and of course it was like Christmas time, and so I was eating as many Christmas cookies as I could, and everything that goes along with Christmas, and then I went to Chipotle a few times, and I can just imagine what happened with my blood sugar then, and then I got back to school. Probably on the 2nd of January, and I hadn't gone on the swim team training trip, and so we had practiced that night that we got back, and I walked out on deck, and everyone just kind of looked at me, and they're like, "Oh my God, Andrew, like what's going on here?" Because I looked at that time physically ill, and I hadn't been feeling well, but I was like, well, I don't know, I don't know what you're talking about, and I guess I hadn't noticed that. That my body over those 2 weeks was changing. And so I swam probably the most awful swim practice of my life, just physically feeling awful. And went in the locker room and I jumped on the scale, to see what everyone was talking about. And, in October, November, I'd been between 170 and 175, and I was 152. And so obviously I had lost, quite a bit of weight in that 2 or 3 week period. I went up to my assistant coach and I told him, and he's did something happen? Did you break up with your girlfriend? Did someone die? And I was like, no. And then my assistant coach came in and said, our head coach came in and said, I want you to go see this doctor that we kind of work with here on the team. And so I made an appointment about 2 days later, and took some blood samples, checked me for a few things, and came in and told me that my blood sugar was 530, and I was a type 1 diabetic, and so it was kind of just like something, I just couldn't believe it. I broke down, so it was just kind of an intense moment, because here I was the whole first half of college almost, or at least first freshman year of college, I was a healthy kid, and all of a sudden here I have type 1 diabetes, so
that is intense.
Kind of rocked my world for a few moments there.
A little bit. What did you do after? I mean,
then so I called because I went home, and then my friends, my wife right now, who was one of my friends in high school, I met her over winter break for coffee at Caribou, and she gave me a hug, and she immediately told me, she's like, you just feel like skin and bones. And so, I called her and, a couple other friends, after I called my parents. But they came down, my parents came down to pick me up, and took me up to I think, Regions Hospital or United up here. I spent a few days in the hospital where they tried to, teach me a few things and give me some food. And hospital food never tasted so good. It was like the best thing ever. To finally get some food with some insulin and be able to get that in my muscles and my body, and it was pretty good. It was real good, actually.
That's pretty incredible. So then, did you continue college? What did you do after that?
Oh yeah, I was itching to get out of the hospital. Number one, because I think I went up there on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And the swim team had this great party on Friday night. So one, I wanted to get out so I could go hang out down at school. And two, I wanted to get out, probably most of all, I wanted to get back out so I could get back in the pool.
Very cool.
You know, I needed, I was literally laying there in the bed, you know, I wasn't dying. They were just trying to get my blood sugar under control.
Right.
And so I really wanted to get out. So I got out, I think, on January 6th. They let me out, and I think I spent maybe one night at home. And then I made my mom drive me back down to school because that's where I needed to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how did you, were there any changes that you made with your athletic career, I guess, per se, throughout college being a swimmer? Did you change anything with nutrition or how you practiced? What distances did you swim?
Well, I was on the distance team, and so we had 9 practices a week, ranging from an hour and a half in the morning to 2 hours in the afternoon.
Okay.
So, initially there was a huge learning curve to begin with, just because I was now a type 1 diabetic. So, obviously it was the taking the right amount of insulin and carb counting, and you go through that little honeymoon period when you're first diagnosed, and so that kind of that was interesting too. Now that I looking back onto it, it was different. But as far as like nutrition, I learned in the past year here I've probably learned more, and I wish I would have. What I know now, I would have known then about just training and refueling and nutrition and for races and for training. And so really this is what I did. I made sure I ate food and took insulin for it.
Yeah.
I probably checked my blood sugar about 12 times a day.
Oh, wow.
I checked it at the start of practice, in the middle of practice, toward the end of practice. And then I think I spent probably a lot of money on those little Minute Maid bottles of juice, because I just brought those to practice. And if I got low, obviously my coaches were very understanding, and I would just get out and drink some juice. And I probably didn't wait the most amount of time to get in, so I would drink some juice, I'd sit out for 5 minutes, and I'd be back in the pool. Just because I didn't,
it's like,
I
why
didn't want to
not,
sit out.
right?
Yeah, why not? So I didn't really. As far as nutrition, I was making sure I was eating, and taking insulin and counting carbs, but I didn't really know a whole lot at that point to I guess, plan for my workouts.
Absolutely. So have you done anything going forward as far as your fitness goals? It sounds like you didn't let diabetes stop you in college.
No, so my freshman year, it was, it took the season ended in the end of February, and so I spent all of January trying to get back at it, and then we had taper, and then I for the most part for my events I was back to, or faster to where I was at the start of the year, and then my sophomore year was a decent year, and I don't know if that related to my training or my diabetes. It wasn't my best swimming year. Junior year was good, and then senior year was probably my best year by far. But made the conference team, swam on the conference.
Congrats.
Which was cool. And then post college, I took a little break from swimming, just because I'd been in the pool every year since 6th grade, swimming. And so, but now I'm getting into triathlons and things. A week from today on Sunday, I'm doing the Boulder Half Ironman.
Awesome.
Which should be an experience. Earlier this summer, I did the Minneapolis Half Marathon.
Very cool.
Sky's the limit, really, for what I kind of want to do. Just kind of interested in a little bit of everything, and I know that I can do it, and that anybody can do it. So.
Absolutely, Andrew. Now, even when you were done with your parents after you first got diagnosed, were you concerned at all, what to do, or if diabetes would limit you, going forward and getting back at it as a college student?